All right, it's Liam. I want to thank everyone at the Oasis Podcast, as you were.
All right, hello and welcome back to the Oasis Podcast, the ultimate audio guide to Oasis on a gorgeous summer's day in August 2024. I'm joined by Katy Georgiou. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm hot as everyone is.
Yeah. But we
Yeah.
can't complain because there's been very few hot days this year.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm very good. So I'm just back from being away. And so, yeah, I quickly snuck out the last episode before I went away. So while everyone else in my house was charging around packing suitcases, I was in Supernova Studios quickly editing my chat with Imran. So I was very popular. But no, so it's nice to be back. And it's always that thing when you go away. It's like, okay, I kind of want there to be major Oasis news because like it's exciting if there is, but also I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So I'd be like, I could tweet about it, obviously, but I'd be like, I need to react to this and I can't. But yeah, so there's been not so thankfully there was nothing extremely drastic in the world of Oasis while I was away, although there's some bits that we can talk about. And also finally we are getting back to the Oasis A to Z. We've got a good reason why we've got you on for today, which is Headshrinker. But first off, shall we go back a little bit to Noel's last run of gigs? Because you were at Alexandra Palace. How was that?
Yeah, it was really, really good. I thought the gig was amazing, except for the fact that I missed half of it. So I told you a bit of it already, and I think I mentioned a bit on the Discord, but I didn't realise Noel was going to come on so early. I had no idea because I've been to Alexandra Palace before and that hasn't happened. So I don't know if it was a thing about this year because I've heard that happened with the Manics as well earlier in the week. But I thought I would get there because I wasn't too bothered about the support. So I just thought I'd get there for when Noel starts. So I left like in my leisure, like walking along. And when I got to like Muswell Hill, I could hear Noel. I was like, what's going on? Like the gig started. I was like, no. So I was like trying to find the entrance to get in and realized I went into Alexandra Palace in the completely wrong entrance and couldn't find any like security guards or anything. Couldn't find my way in whatsoever, but could hear the gig perfectly. So I was getting really stressed because it was like I'm like in the middle of this kind of woodland, and it felt like Noel was right there. It was really horrible. It was like Lord of the Rings trying to get to that bit where you're trying to get to the ring. I was like, where is he?
I just thought I'd record this because it's 8:48. I didn't realise the concert had already started. I thought it started at 9. As you can hear, the concert's happening. I can't get into it, but I'm in the middle of Alexandra Palace, surrounded by forest, and I can hear everything beautifully, as you can hear too. And it's like Noel's right there, and I can't see him. And I don't know how to get there.
And I kept asking people and no one knew. And then I saw someone by that wall, just like there was a kind of wall kind of obviously where they'd blocked it all off. And he was just listening to the whole gig. And I said, do you know how I get in? And he basically didn't have a ticket. And he said he thought he'd just sit there and listen to the whole gig. And at one point, I just thought, if I don't get in, I might just join you because I can't get in either.
Okay, I can see another person here. I'm just going to ask them how to get in.
Do you know where the entrance is?
Well, I cycled all the way around this whole thing and the entrance is right at the other side. I don't know if you can get back, you might be able to.
So eventually I did get in, and I arrived when they started with he started singing. It was the end of If I Had a Gun, the beginning of What a Life, and then I arrived and saw the rest of the gig, and it was brilliant. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was quite
Yeah, but yeah, and you kindly documented it for us. Like, I think the last time you documented something, it was when you saw him on the beach and you were being attacked by seagulls, and that was quite entertaining. So,
Yeah.
but thank you very much for documenting that.
Okay, I've been guided through a path. I can still hear Noel behind me. Apparently I'm supposed to walk through here. This is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Since when does Noel start gigs this early? I think this is really weird. I'm going under a bridge now, which apparently I'm supposed to do. Okay, I'm confused. I'm now on a residential street. I've been told to come here. I can see arrows pointing me in a direction, so I'm just going to follow those arrows. But if I can't get to the entrance, I am going to just go back to that spot I was in and just listen to the songs from there. I just passed some drug dealers, and now I'm passing a playground. What? Now I'm in a playground surrounded by children. Okay, I'm in. I found the gate, I'm in. I think a lot of people had the same trouble. So I think I'm in. Oh, it's like finding God.
So there we go. There was Katy of the past, struggling to find her way in. But I'll tell you what, we have it like because we were at the Liam gig at the arena, and it's like sometimes it's like I just don't know how to get in here. Like, you know, it's so frustrating. Like, but it makes me think of that bit in Spinal Tap when they're like, you know, hello Cleveland, and they just keep like walking through like which way. But yeah, but you did finally get in, and so you sort of missed the sort of the kind of, you know, he splits it in half, doesn't he? So you got there for basically the Noel anthems and then the Oasis anthems at the end.
pretty much, which was great in a way. That was all I needed, really. I was gutted that I missed all of this, the first half, but I could hear it anyway as I was looking for the entrance. So I felt like I was listening. And I also noticed how, like, depending on where you were in the park, like, people were just sort of sunbathing and like not really aware there was even a gig going on. So it was kind of odd, but it's a nice venue, especially the outdoor bit, because you get the view. You would like stand up on a hill, so you get a great view wherever you are. It's sort of dipped down, so I could see everything perfectly, even though I was right near the back. Everything was really clear, and you could get like a view of London in front of you behind the stage, which was really nice as well. It's kind of cool. But then on the way back, I sort of got lost again, because I followed the crowd out and didn't realize they were all going out through a different exit. And then ended up there. Noel's voice was really good that night, and it was a really nice atmosphere. And Live Forever, actually, I always find there's always one song that gets me, depending on the gig. At the Liam gig, it was Half the World Away. At this one, it was Live Forever. And I don't know why on this particular night it got me, but the way he sang it just really was quite poignant. That was the standout for me.
Lovely. No, that's really cool. Yeah, no, I haven't. It's mad. I haven't. haven't seen Noel this year. I do feel bad, and I feel like I'm going to get hate for saying I'm a Liam biased because as I say, I saw Liam at Co-op. I'm seeing him at Reading in a couple of weeks, and then actually because I booked tickets for the Anthony Joshua fight in September, and it turns out like Liam's going to be playing 3 songs on that night as well. So I will have seen Liam 3 times in the space of 3 months and not seen Noel at all. So yeah, I've got to get out and see Noel at some point. But yeah, it is yeah, it's a shame. But no, it sounds like he's on great form. I know people were critical of the set not changing up and stuff. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens next. I think that there's, I hate really getting drawn into like Oasis reunion rumors because it's so annoying, and it's sort of the same thing happens over and over again. But it does feel like at the moment, something might be afoot. Something might be afoot. Personally, I think that I've heard over the years, 20 gigs, 10 in Manchester, 10 in London, probably Wembley, for next summer, and it's pretty much a done deal. They're just waiting effectively for Noel to sign. Like that's where they are. And then I've seen that pop up over the years, over the last couple of years, like 2025, 20 gigs, 10. And Secret Drug Addict, on Twitter, he said something the other day. What, you heard it here first, like 20 gigs, summer 2025. I'm thinking, what? How is that? That's starting to feel a little bit coincidental. Why would it be 20? And I did reach out to him because I've said about getting him on podcast before because he worked for Creation in the 90s. But I know he keeps his identity secrets. That might jeopardize that. I know he's done other podcasts and stuff. So I think we will hopefully do something at some point. But yeah, the fact that he came out with 20 and he says this is from a very reliable source. So who knows? It could be happening. And I saw Liam tweeted the other day, like he's done a photo shoot and he was being quite coy about who with. And he said the other day, like, oh, I'm done as a solo artist, playing an artist. So yeah. Anyway, what was your thoughts?
I don't know about Wembley. When I read that stuff, my first thought was, really, Wembley? It doesn't fill me with excitement. I don't know if it's because my last memory of Wembley was in the summer of 2009, and I think the memory of them was like it was on its last legs. Yeah. And then the other memory of Wembley was Familiar to Millions, when again it's just they weren't in a good place. I think I've associated it with like I don't know, just it doesn't feel exciting to me. But I don't know what to say. I also wonder about how it works when people have spent the last 15 years slagging off either Liam or Noel, and then all of a sudden they're back together. What does everyone do with that then? It's kind of weird.
They just chuck it away, delete the evidence, and then just go, yeah, we're all in. I know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Like that. So that's where the latest is. And, I've been kind of, it feels like the gap is open now. You know what I mean? It feels like, okay, when these things have happened in the past, it's tended to be when Noel's promoting something and he had that whole thing about, oh, call me, or, we know he split up with his wife, Sarah. So there was the whole like, well, it's not going to happen while he's with Sarah because Liam and Sarah didn't get on. So that's been removed. And, and Liam currently doesn't have like something scheduled for next summer, as far as we know. Like, there's no plans for another album or anything, as far as we know. It's like, this is the last thing in the diary, effectively, for both of them. So there's a gap, for the first time in years. And it is the Morning Glory 30th. So it would make sense. And there's there's nothing in the way of it happening. I always, like I said, like, you know, I'm a boxing fan, and for years it's always been the same with like boxers. It's like, oh, like Joshua versus Fury. It's like, well, Joshua's got a mandatory. Oh, now Fury's got to fight this guy. Oh, now he's been injured. And there's always like, you know, there's things in the way of it happening. And that's always the case where it's like, well, it could happen this year, but oh, Noel's doing that album. Oh, Liam's going to tour that. And it's like, there was always the, well, it can't happen because, and it's like, the road is clear. Well, let's just see. Let's just see.
If they had like a rotating, like rotating drummers and rotating bassists and guitarists coming on and off stage, I wouldn't mind that. Start off with Tony McCarroll. He just does the Definitely Baby songs. He leaves. Alan White comes on. Wigsy comes on for a few songs. Pisses off. Andy Bell comes on. He pisses off. Like, that would be fun.
I don't think so. I think that I would love that, you know, and you know, and I think a lot of people would. Like, even we were hoping, weren't we, that Tony McCarroll would come on and Definitely Maybe tour.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, you could do. You know, he literally lives in Manchester. Why not? You know, why not just phone him up, come and do it? You know, I'm sure he would have absolutely loved to do it. He literally lives down the road. Just come on for Supersonic, you know. We know he can play that. He played it with me at the Water Rats, so which is my claim to fame. So yeah, but it didn't happen. So no, so I don't think he'll. But I think it would just be like a combination of the two bands of the current live groups that, you know, that Noel and Liam have got. So it'll probably be Bonehead, and then you know, and then Noel's live band. Basically, I think it would probably be the case. Because he's got Mikey there, he's got Gem there, so they'd be well covered. But anyway, I mean, it's Noel and Liam is what we want to see, isn't it? So, but yeah, as I said, I just want to lay the cards down. While everything does feel like it's a possibility, and while the rumours are feeling stronger, I still don't think. Given the, you know, if I had to put money on it, as we are recording on the 13th of August 2024, I'm saying that this time next year I won't have watched them, you know, 10 times at Wembley. But I'm just challenging the universe to prove me wrong now.
Will you go if they reunite?
No, I can't be bothered. No, I wouldn't go 10 nights. I would, if it was 10 nights at Wembley, 10 nights at Manchester, then I'd probably do 2 or 3, I think. I'd do 2 or 3. And if they did a tour around the country, I'd probably do, yeah. Even if they went abroad, like, you know, like I didn't see the Stone Roses on their comeback tour, but a couple of mates did, and they sort of saw them in the UK and then in like Barcelona or something. I'd love to, you know, I did see Oasis abroad once in Paris supporting Neil Young, but yeah, I'd love to go and see them, you know, just go and see them, you know, headline Fuji Rock Festival in Japan or something like that, or headline, you know, a Spanish festival or something. Would be amazing. But no, I don't think so. But yeah, I'd go. Would you go?
I would go because I think I would get caught up in all the woodplay of it, and I feel like it would be something. I'm in two minds about it because I think it would be really exciting, but also there'd be so much pressure around it. I'd be feeling like it's something I should do. I don't know. It would completely depend how they sort of announce it and how Liam and Noel are with each other, what they decide to play, what the set list is like. It's just, yeah. I don't know what to say. It feels like there's always this element of danger with these discussions. Like, whatever you say, there'll be someone that will be so angry about it. So I can already tell, like, whatever I'm saying now, I'll probably be told I'm scum. So I'm just thinking, oh, I don't know. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And who cares?
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, look, there you go. That's fine. Oasis reunion discussion covered. The other big thing, we've had a release today, so we're a couple of weeks away from the release of the Definitely Maybe 30th anniversary reissue. And today, so as we speak, it's currently only on that kind of Oasis MyNet thing. and then coming to Everywhere Else Tonight is, or Midnight is, the Liam sad song. So for years, this was one of those kind of lost Oasis treasures that we knew existed, and it was Supersonic film in 2016, and you heard a little snatch of it in the background. It was like, what? Liam doing sad song? What? And then and that was really exciting. And then obviously then like your Maxi Gonzalez and people like that kind of made, and took that and stripped away everything else and made the Liam sad song remix. And then Liam covered it. He did it on his on like that acoustic album thing he did, and he's played it a couple of times live. But now what's your thoughts?
I really love it, and I don't love it as much as the Noel one. So both are true. I think that it's really nice hearing that old Liam voice again, just being reminded of it. And it was like really silky smooth, really, really sweet sounding. And he brings like a different quality to it that I really do appreciate. I love it when he sings like that. And it brings all sorts of other meaning to it. But I think I noticed that when I hear the Noel one, I hear the lyrics a bit more with Noel's. And I think because I'm so used to hearing Noel's version, I prefer that one. I also like the different versions that Noel's done. So it's nice to have this in the mix with them all. Like there's loads of different versions of it and they're all great in their own right. But I think the original recording, well, the recording that Noel did, the released version, is my favourite.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think with this one, I think it's like he's so childlike, isn't he? He really sounds like a little kid, really, in a lot of it. And I think that Noel, even when Noel was singing it when he was, probably 25 at the time, he still has that world weariness that I think that, lines like when we're living in this town, the sun is coming up and it's going down, but it's all just same at the end of the day. Like, I think you need a bit of world weariness to sing that. And, whereas I don't think Liam's it's lovely to hear and it's amazing to hear. There's a few bits in the phrasing and in the melodic kind of choices, like the fact he doesn't go where we're living, the fact he goes where we're living in this town instead of where we're living, it's Noel goes up a bit, and there's little bits that Liam, he doesn't, and when Noel goes at the end of the day, that he just does better than Liam and things like that. So, but I think this feels like just an initial run through, or like, because I know it's a demo, and I don't know how many goes he had at it. He sort of the words are slightly different at one point, and that feels like he's maybe just read them wrong as he's singing it. I feel like they're in, obviously, because they're recording in Mark Coyle's house, aren't they, in Maldeth Road. So I think he's recording it in the house. I can just sort of see him there with the lyrics, sort of sitting on the bed or whatever, and kind of not quite getting it right. And I think if he'd had a few more goes at it in the studio, then I think Noel would have got him to sing the melody that Noel wants, which I think is the best melody. And I think it would have been better. So, yeah, so I think that's the thing. I don't think it's maybe fair because this feels like a run through, whereas Noel's was probably, nailed, having done it over and over again. Do you know?
We're throwing it all away. We're throwing it all away. We're throwing it all away at the end of the day.
It is, yeah, I really do. It is nice that we're getting these little snippets because they do feel like little gems and little throwbacks to the past. Because I think sometimes, like, in recent years, when they've re-released sort of random like live recordings or demos, they felt a bit throwaway, kind of just like, oh well, it's a demo, but it's not a patch on the original, or it's nothing much, or it's like stuck on like a re-release or something like that. But these, I quite enjoy the way they're doing this time round, where actually it's quite like it's good quality. It's different. It adds to the story rather than just it. Yeah, it's got some meaning behind it, and it's like a reminder of the past. I do appreciate that part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. There's so, you know, we've been saying for years, like it's my mantra, like there's so much stuff out there. Why haven't they released it? It was like finally we're getting it. You know, we got the Columbia with that random little bit, you know, Norris Green, not Morris Street. You know, we've got this now, you know, we've got the Eden sessions. We haven't got the release of I'm the Walrus. Obviously, we've got it if you know the right places to look. But you know, so finally all these things that were like, you know, the Oasis lost treasures are appearing, you know. And who knows? I mean, it might be that with Morning Glory, you know, they do like the Liam step out, you know, and things like that that we've, you know, that obviously we've had unofficial, could be given official releases. So I'd hope so. You know, you think that there is more stuff out there. You know, we know there's the demos that that Kyle's got that he sent back to Noel. There was that whole situation. So there is stuff. But yeah, it is great. It feels like, you know, Noel's maybe just sort of loosening his grip on the sort of the not perfect stuff and allowing it to come out now, which is great. But no, I thought it was lovely. And then there's also like the ending's quite different as well. The ending sort of the rhythm sort of changes, and he sort of, there's a different rhythm in the acoustic guitar, and then there's sort of an extra line and stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's different. You hear these sort of demos and stuff. Like the final version is normally the best version. Like I think I trust that Noel knew what he was doing. You know, he heard this, he sang it himself. The only one I think is an example of that is that goes against that is the electric, the Liam version of Lord Don't Slow Me Down. I think that is better. You know, I don't quite know why they went with Noel's vocal over Liam's on that, but pretty much everything else feels like, yeah, okay, I've heard the other version. I'm happy you went with that one, and I think this sad song, you know, Noel's one is better. It's just perfect the way he sings it. His style of voice, the world weariness in his voice, the way he delivers those lines is absolutely brilliant, I think. But lovely to have this special. Are we going to get the Morning Glory 30th special with extras, you know, and it's like, so they then, and they could give, you know, we know there's loads of demos that are around the later albums as well. It'd be nice to get sort of, you know, we've never done anything on those albums. It's only ever been the first three that have had any sort of extras with them. So, you know, I'm sure there's good stuff on the later ones as well, that would be interesting. It's obviously not going to sell as well because, you know, these albums are the ones that people really care about, but it will still sell enough to make it worthwhile. You know, I don't think it's going to be that much of a hassle to dig them out. And Andy, again, what have you got? What have you, you know, got in the locker? So anyway. Well, there we go. So from one of the saddest and quietest songs in the Oasis repertoire, let's go on to Oasis A to Z now, and on to the probably one of the loudest in the Oasis repertoire back. I know it's been ages, and every now and then, especially on YouTube comments, I've seen a few YouTube comments that just go like, Oasis A to Z, heartbreak emoji. And I'm like, sorry, we do need to get back to it. There's just been too much stuff going on. And also, we had talked about doing Headshrinker, like for a very specific reason, and I was like, okay, well, I need to sit down with you to do that then, and it's just been a case of getting ourselves in the same place again. But yeah, Headshrinker. So this was the B-side from Some Might Say, and for me, and it was then on the master plan as well. And for me, what I really love about this is it's that very individual, very specific thing of, this isn't part of Definitely Maybe, but it's before we get into the Morning Glory recordings. It's this one moment in time where we've still got Tony on the sticks, but it's a stage on, so it's got a different sound. It's not Some Might Say, you know, but it's in that era. So yeah, this has always been a very, very special one for me. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. It's got that punkiness to it that they lost afterwards, doesn't it? And because I was like typing in like what Noel said about Headshrinker in the past, I found something he said in Melody Maker, that he said something about that punkiness, and that it was recorded really, really early on. And I like that it's got that kind of energy to it, but it's produced in a slightly later style. So it kind of overlaps those two eras. And I can't I can't also separate it from that Twitter viral thing that happened a couple of years ago around Oasis BPM, when there was this argument about the BPM of Oasis songs, and then everyone was quoting Headshrinker as having high BPM. I don't know why that like pops up in my mind as well.
Was that Simon Price?
Yeah, it was Simon Price. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So Simon Price, who's like that journalist, and he's done a lot with the Manics, hasn't he? And he just did some sneery kind of Oasis, like they haven't even got any fast songs, and it's like, right. But yeah, and everyone's going Headshrinker on that single as well. I think that was the first single that I bought when it came out. Like, and I remember riding my bike, and getting it from WH Smith, and I had it, and I remember taking it home and listening to it. So I think I bought a couple of CDs that day, and I was riding my bike home and I dropped them. I was like, oh no! But then actually, some might say it was okay. But yeah, so to just have that, I mean, that EP is maybe like the greatest EP ever. You know what? Some might say Talk Tonight, Acquiesce, and this is just like ridiculous, and also four sort of very different styles really in from that band. But yeah, and the sound is it's different. It doesn't really sound like anything else in their back catalogue. Like we said, it is that sort of in-betweeny era. And the fact that there's like when he's on the lines, I hope you don't regret today, there's sort of like an echoiness like in the backing vocals and stuff, so it does feel like really punk. It feels really like Sex Pistols and stuff. But yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? The sound is just different, isn't it?
Liam's voice as well. Liam's voice is so good on that. It's so like when I think of that peak era Liam's voice, like that raw, but he's still got the sweetness with it, which I love, because he's still so melodic and can hit the high notes, and has got a sweetness to the, like a melancholy to the way he's singing the melody, but still roaring it out. I think that's one of his best, I would say probably one of his best vocals.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's look at the lyrics, shall we? So what is he on about here? And just to say, in terms of the lyrics, so the song's called Headshrinker. And so just to say, and the reason why I really wanted you to come on this one is that you had talked about setting up your new podcast, and you were planning on calling it Headshrinker because obviously it's music and mental health, and there's shrink being a term for a psychiatrist and things like that. And yeah, why were you planning to call your podcast Headshrinker?
Well, because it was a music and mental health podcast, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I just thought, and I'm an Oasis fan, and it was a kind of, I guess it was a nod to the fact that I'm an Oasis fan, and it incorporated the therapy and the music combined, and I thought people might get the reference, but then I realized it might be too Oasis heavy by doing that, and they're the only people that would get the reference.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, check out my music and mental health podcast. What's it called? Wait, what are you talking about? Like, like in Beetlejuice, the guy just shrinks his head in Beetlejuice, stuff like that.
Well, looks like I'm next. Good thing too. I gotta do a photo shoot for GQ in about an hour and a half. Yeah, they've been after me for months. Doing some kind of underwear deal. I don't know what. Whoa, hey, what are you doing? Hey, stop it! Hey, you're messing up here! Come on! Whoa! Whoa! Stop it! Whoa! Hey, this might be a good look for me.
Well, also, I guess because Headshrinker is a slightly, not fully derogatory term for a therapist, but a slightly derogatory term for psychotherapy. So it probably wouldn't have been a great name for the album, for the podcast. Album.
We think in albums here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done 270 albums. I'm crushing it. Yeah, and so I'll I don't like to blow my own trumpet here, but I do take the credit for coming up with sound effects, which is just ripping off the Jam basically, because their album's called Sound Effects, using the sound effects BBC volume sort of BBC sound effects records. So I thought that was a better name anyway, but yeah, maybe Headshrinkers would have been a good name, but there you go.
I think sound effects is a better name for it. I had a few. I was going to call it Rock and Roller Coaster, which wasn't a good one. I was going to call it Discordant. I had a few others as well, but basically it was because I wanted to create a podcast that combined my therapy work with music, journalism, music and mental health, and then doing a crossover of music industry therapy. And so like, in other words, like mental health within the music industry, but our music impacts us as well. So it needed to be something that, like, I suppose spoke to both of those things.
Yeah. So I think sound effects.
You did that.
Worked pretty well, didn't it? So yeah, if anyone else wants my podcast naming services, do let me know. Oh, and actually, you know what? We do need to talk about that, don't we? About you having your head examined. Yeah, I'll tell you what, remind me, we'll come back to that because we are in the middle of talking about Headshrinker. So Headshrinker, so let's look at the lyrics. I know a girl who's lost and lonely, sits by the phone on her own, but the phone don't ring and the birds don't sing in her tree. Love that. She lost herself in a haze of pity and doesn't know where to run, needs a head shrinker now, and I think it's time we had some fun. See, I always sing, she's a head shrinker.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I've always thought it was she's a head shrinker, like she's going to shrink my head. But it's apparently it is needs a head shrinker now. So, which makes sense. So she needs a shrink. And I think it's time we had some fun. I think I always sing, that's a fire, but and I think it's time we had some lost in a fog, up a tree like no, that's not right. I've been treated like a dog. Let me get this must be wrong. I'm going to check this from a different source now. Hold on. But anyway, what do you think about the lyrics there, Katie, in general?
So I keep having a look over and over again at these lyrics and thinking, is it a case of the usual thing with Noel where actually the lyrics don't really mean much at all, and it's just a bunch of words put together? Headshrinker sounds like a full title and a theme, and there isn't much to it, or is there some meaning behind it? And I have a feeling it's more the former, but I did see there was something when Noel said it was about someone Liam used to go out with. I don't know how true that is, about someone that was like in their really early days of being in the band, like following them around a lot. And so I don't know if it is about her, if it's biographical. But I don't think there's actually that much meaning behind it lyrically.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those like like a it's like an anti-love song, isn't it? It's like an I don't like you song. I mean, I suppose you could say it's a bit misogynist, but the way he sort of spits it out with bile as well, the way Liam sings it, like the phone don't ring and the birds don't sing in her tree. See, something like that, I just think such lovely kind of poetic, the girl who's lost and lonely, sits by the phone on her own, the phone don't ring and the birds don't sing in her tree. Like, she's so negative. The birds in her tree won't even sing. You know what I mean? She's having this effect on everything around her, which I think is just a lovely, obviously he's picked it because ring and sing rhyme, but the fact that it rhymes with the earlier part in the line, and then he has in her tree at the end of it is great, I think.
Yeah.
She lost herself in a haze, but doesn't know where to run. So according to this, it is she's a head shrinker now. Lost in a fog, I've been treated like a dog and I'm out of here. So now it slips over from talking about this other person, the head shrinker. Now he's talking about himself. Lost in the fog, I've been treated like a dog and I'm out of here. I got no name and I feel no shame and I got no fear. It says, and I bow down to the tears of a clown. I think it all boils down to the tears of a clown, I think.
I always thought it was bow down.
You sing bow down. Okay. So the tears of a clown. Whatever's going down is coming around. I hope you don't references and stuff here, haven't we? So Lost and Lonely, going back to that. I mean, he uses Lost and Lonely quite a bit. That's been used in Lost and Lonely, my life feels so strange, going nowhere. He uses Lost and Lonely. And we've got Tears of a Clown is obviously the Smokey Robinson song. But yeah, I just love that. And then I hope you don't regret today for the rest of your lives is like for the rest of, why not, isn't it for your life? But no, he changes it for the rest of your lives. So yeah, it's like, so was the head shrinker split up with him? And then he's not very happy. He's lost in a fog, been treated like a dog. I'm out of here. He's kind of like, he's dealing with it. He's not very happy about it, but he's angry with the person. I hope you don't regret today. So like she's left him or whatever. But he's saying, I hope you don't regret today for the rest of your lives. And it's like plural. So is that playing on, that they're a two-faced person? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a nice little, I think it's just one of those little quirks that change it to lives instead of life. It sounds cool and you can kind of read into it. You know what I mean?
I think when I think back to it from my young years, like the first time I heard it, I was 12, I think. So, or around that age. And I remember hearing it more as like a cautionary tale, like whatever he was actually talking about, like this situation that had happened to him, whether it had or hadn't happened. It felt when he sang, I hope you don't regret today for the rest of your lives, it was like he was providing like a handbook or a roadmap for how not to let regret overtake you. Kind of like saying, don't, the way I heard it was like, he was saying, don't dwell, don't worry, don't overthink, get on with your life, make things happen, don't regret today or you'll regret it. And he was kind of almost saying, because I've been there. And I think my young brain heard it that way. I found it very motivating to listen to as a young person, which feeds back into the title Headshrinker, because then it's like Noel has become the therapist in this song.
Excellent, love it. That's great. Yeah, I don't think it's, I think I've always read it as he's talking to the girl who's split up with him, and he's saying, right, I hope you don't regret today for the rest of your lives. Like you will regret it, you'll regret splitting up with me, sort of thing. That's how I've read it. But then, but then when you just take that line out of context, you can, I can, sing in that. But it's just the snare, isn't it? It's that Sex Pistols, or like Bob Dylan has a lot of these sort of anti-love songs. They're not love songs. They're like, you love me, but I don't love you, sort of songs that I just think are quite interesting. But yeah, cool. And then he once again, this is another one where we just get a so it goes like verse, chorus, and then we just get a repeated, and so it doesn't it doesn't get there's no second verse or a separate section. We have, I suppose, in terms of the structure of the song, you then have that like that sort of breakdown section where it's like and it sort of slows down and gets quiet, and then Liam sings I know a girl who's lost and lonely, and it's quite quiet, and then we get the Noel scratch on down the thing, and then it boom kicks back in again for she's lost herself in a haze of pity. So I think that's just like the structure of the song, I think while it is quite a punky song, and you can imagine it being like 2 minutes long, but it's not actually. It's pretty long. You know, the song itself is quite long. I think let me just have a quick look up. Oh, there we go. It's 4 minutes 40. You know, so it's a long song. But yeah, so it's not like a 2 minute punk song. You know, it's a pretty long one, but I think there is a few little good bits going on. There's that breakdown with the. So yeah, so I think it's a well structured song, and even though it is long, almost 5 minutes, I don't get bored of it. And you know, it never outstays its welcome.
Kind of puts me in a meditative state as well when it goes down just before that guitar bit comes in. It's like when he stops singing, that bit that you're talking about, it's kind of like he starts singing in an echo through the music. That kind of puts me into a bit of a trance, like a meditation. I always find that bit quite interesting because it's such a heavy song, and you'd think it would make you feel very well. It does at the start. It kind of captures you straight away, takes your attention straight away, and then suddenly puts you into like this trance state in the middle of it, which I think is really interesting. I've got all sorts of theories about that as a therapist, but maybe this podcast isn't the right.
It does a 3-chord trick. So, you know, the 3-chord trick is like the which, you know, the Beatles use and End of Bourag. So when he does For the Rest of Your Lives, it's like in the chorus, it's like, I hope you don't regret today. And then he does like a 3-chord trick. And so you get that like at the end of the chorus, which I think is quite you know, it's just a little powerful and cool little trick. You know, he does at the end of She's Electric and things like that. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward song, and I think it's like, you know, the guys, if anyone wants to do you know, a message, drop us an audio message talking about the different live versions and things and what Noel's actually doing with his fingers. But yeah, he's basically D, C, B flat, G, F, D, A, D, C, B flat, G, F, D, A, and then like G, F, G. So it's all pretty straightforward stuff. But then the key thing for me is that like that 3-chord trick. And it's a little bit more, you know, when Noel's just known for doing kind of 3 or 4 chords in a song. Actually, there is a little bit more going on here, which is interesting. What in terms of live, so Oasis, according to our friends at Setlist FM, who should really sponsor this podcast, Oasis only played it live 19 times, which is interesting. So they first played it live, apparently played at Sheffield Hallam University, October 1993.
I think there's an interview where Noel says it was written pre-definitely. Maybe it was one of the first he ever wrote. I've got the quote. He says a really, really old one written before we had a manager or anything like that. That one is really fast, really loud, probably the best drumming that the ex-drummer has ever done. It's written about a girl that our Liam was going out with at the time that was a pain in the ass. She followed the band everywhere. She's a bit of a weirdo as well. I don't know what Headshrinker actually is, just thought it was a psychiatrist or something. It sounds like the Faces on Speed. We used to have a lot of bar songs like that years and years ago in 1992 and 1993. We were more like a punk band then, really. So yeah, he says it was written before they had a manager. So that would have been pre-Marcus Russell, which would have been like 92.
No, so first played in concert October 28th, 1993 at Sheffield Hallam University. Apparently they played it once at Sheffield Hallam in October 93 and then didn't play it again until 95 when it was, you know, first played at the Palace Los Angeles, February the 3rd, 1995, and they played it on that kind of that US tour through to Cliff's Pavilion, which is obviously the recording for Live 2nd, 1995 Sheffield Arena. and then they played it once more in 2005 at the Astoria in London, May the 10th, 2005, and never played it again. And I did read somewhere, I think it was on, I can't remember where I read it, that apparently like they were going to do it again on the 2000. Here we go. They rehearsed it for the Don't Believe the Truth tour, played it during the first show, London Astoria, but then Liam hadn't taught himself the lyrics, forgot them, stopped singing halfway through, and told the band to drop it from the set for the rest of the tour. So yeah, it wasn't played again by Oasis, which is a shame because I think it's a great, great song, and it was always a great one to hear live. And Liam has played it. So Liam played it at the what do you call the live the Down by the River gig, and he also played it, at yes, we played it November 6th, 2020, River Thames, and he played it January the 29th, 21 at Music Feed's Virtual Benefit 2021. He did Once and Headshrinker. Don't remember what that was. Oh, look, was that maybe no, that wasn't like when they played for like a homeless charity, was it? That was for radio? That was a different one. I don't know. I'll look it up and I'll drop in a clip here. Hi guys, James in the future here. Just to clarify, I've looked it up, and basically what that was, it wasn't like a separate gig. They used two songs from the River Thames gig, Once and Headshrinker, that were put into this sort of this TV show. So yeah, it wasn't a separate gig. It was just reusing those two songs. And here's a little clip of him from the River Thames gig.
I don't know if you know, did they ever do it acoustically?
Headshrinker, no.
But I would love to hear an acoustic version of it in the same way they did Fade Away when they did the War Child version. It worked really well as both. Yeah. And I can imagine there must be some recording somewhere of Noel having put it down acoustically. I'd love to hear it.
There is the Ryan Adams version. So Ryan Adams did it in in that when he did all the songs for Morning Glory a year or so ago, a couple of years ago now. And so I'll drop a little clip in here. I like the idea of those Ryan Adams versions, but I just felt they got very samey. And I think I even gave up. I don't think I've listened to the whole album, to be honest, because they just felt very, very samey. It's like a bit of a one-trick pony, just like take the song and make it really sad and quiet. And it sort of stripped away what was interesting about it. But no, I would like to hear like Noel do a version of it. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I didn't really bother listening to the Ryan Adams ones either. Same reasons.
Yeah. So what else do we talk about? It's been so long since I did an A to Z. Would you have had it on the album, or do you think it was right to remain a B-side?
I think it was right to have it as a B-side because it's in keeping with the gems, the hidden gems that you would find on the B-sides. And if it had been on the album, it would have still worked on the album. I think if it was on Morning Glory, for example, I think it would have worked great. Maybe I would have put it instead of possibly Hey Now, but then that would have changed the energy because I like the fact that you get the heavy one with Morning Glory towards the end of the album. So, I don't know. I think it would have been fine on there, but I think it worked well as a B-side as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, where'd you put it? What do you swap out for it? I think it's probably a bit too punk. It's probably still kind of calling back to the earlier days of Oasis, in which case I suppose it was available. It could have been on Definitely Maybe, as we've now ascertained. But I suppose it feels similar to Bring It On Down in that way. And so would it replace Bring It On Down on Definitely Maybe, or you drop something else and then you've got, I don't know, it's hard because they're such perfect albums and because they've been so ingrained in us. When you try and change them, it's like, just doesn't feel right. Maybe I'm a bit more okay with the later years changing the albums because Like, well, yeah, and I think it felt a little bit more like, oh, that'll do, chuck that in, drop that, at the time. Whereas, yeah, Headshrinker, if it was on either of those two albums, it just completely changes the vibe of the album, doesn't it? You've just lost sort of, and it would really impact James Hargreaves' theories about both albums as well. So, we wouldn't want to do that.
It's really good.
Good old James. Bless him. Right. I think we've squeezed all the juice of that, haven't we? Anything else you want to say?
There's only one little thing, because I found this interview when Noel says, if I'm doing my job correctly, my song should say more to you about you than about me. And I feel like that's relevant for the song here, because it could be about him, but I think it's what we take from it. Because I saw I don't know if you heard that Rob Beckett thing recently, where he did a BBC Sounds podcast with his favourite Oasis songs on it, and he put Headshrinker in there as well. And he said for him as a comedian, the bit that stood out for him in that song was I Bow Down to the Tears of a Clown. And the thing about I've been treated like a dog and I'm out of here, I've got no name and I feel no shame. He related to that as a budding comedian, not getting anywhere and being put down for having aspirations, and then hearing that song and then hearing the tears of a clown and thinking of himself as the clown's tears.
Yeah.
So I feel like it does fit with what Noel is saying there about if he's doing his job correctly, the songs say more to you about you than about him. I think that's what he's so good at, because he makes the songs personable to each person listening to it. It's such a skill. That's what I wonder about here, with a little grain of truth within it from his real life.
Yeah. It always seeps in, doesn't it? There's always, like, even if someone's, oh, it's all bollocks, I just made it up. But you could have made up something completely different. You could have said, you chose to go with Lost in the Fog, I'd be treated like a dog. It wasn't Lost in the Rain. You know what I mean? He chose to go with Fog. There's always, everything's a choice. Even if it is just whatever. There is a choice every time, and whether that's subconscious or conscious, it's still a choice, isn't it? So no, I think there's a lot to it. Stop the clocks. Just going back to Sad Song, Liam has replied to a tweet of mine 2 minutes ago.
Hey.
So I said, well, kind of. I said, I said to the people, have you heard the new Sad Song yet? What are we thinking? Rob Lloyd 12 said, just let the fucking singer sing the songs. And Liam Gallagher, and Rob Lloyd has got a Man United crest as his profile. And Liam Gallagher has replied, right on, Red Nose.
Oh, amazing.
There you go. So that counts as a reply to me. I'll put that in my reply pile.
How many have you had now?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. I've had 16 or something, but no, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, he's what else is he going on about? He's just said, had a lovely day in the boozer with the one and only Fenners, aka the funniest man since me, LG. So that's Fenners from Soccer AM, isn't it? So I wonder if he's doing some sort of filming there, or if it was just wait, hold on. Fenners has got a podcast. Is Liam doing a podcast? It's not the Oasis podcast. Not happy. And he's replied to me, just let the singer sing the songs, right on, Red Nose. And then he's also replied to what looks like someone talking about Man City. Yeah, and he's, I fucking love you, our kid. Keep on keeping on, LG. So there you go. Liam's replying to me. There we are.
I love that he's keeping little tabs on your podcast there. It's like I'm just picturing him typing in Oasis Pod into the Twitter search tool to see what is being said.
Well, he doesn't follow anyone, does he? So it must be, I don't know what your feed looks like if you don't follow anyone.
Yeah.
He must search maybe he searched sad. What did he search? How did he search sad song, or did he just? Is there certain people that he keeps an eye on? Because it's not when it's like replying to him direct, then it's fine because obviously it shows up in his mentions. But I find it fascinating. But did you see the other day? Magic Mod said something about I'm not sure. I might quit Twitter. Like it's just a horrible place now. And he said something, and Liam replied something like, "Stay strong, our kid." And you're like,
Oh,
look, like how amazing for Liam to just, why was he just keep an eye on Magic Mod? Like just stay
yeah.
strong, our kid, like that. And it's just like a little angel, isn't it? Just pops
Yeah.
in and boop, and then pops out again. It's madness.
That's perfect description of Liam, a little angel that pops in.
He does. He just suddenly he's like a little Twitter angel that just sort of occasionally will, do these things. But anyway, very bizarre. There we go. Oh dear, I'm going to be refreshing, and my mentions are going to be completely knackered now for the rest of the day. Anyway, so that's all good. Was there something I said we'll cycle back to about your podcast? Oh, you had your head examined.
Oh, I had my head examined. Like I had my brain scanned by two neuroscientists. So the context of this is that, as we mentioned earlier, my podcast is about music and mental health. And about 2 years ago, I did 2 years ago all about hip hop, but I stayed in touch with Becky, and Becky is now, alongside that, is now running another organization called The Lab with another neuroscientist called Mark Shepherd, and they were doing a pop-up as part of London Data Week, where basically they were going to take neuroscience out on the streets, because that's their kind of ethos in a way, is they're trying to take things away from the clinical and like formal and bring it to the streets and to normal people. So Becky has these like headsets that are basically, they operate the same way that you would have like a full-on head scan within like a hospital, but they literally just sit on your head like almost like headphones, and they're really comfortable. And they did this pop-up where they said like people can pop in and just have their personal moments monitored. So it could be anything from like I don't know, like you've got some good news from an exam or something like that, to anything you want. So I asked her, like, could I have my head scan whilst listening to a song? And she said, yeah. And I thought, I'll do it for like my favorite Oasis song. Then I had like a job trying to figure out which Oasis song. It's really difficult to pick. I ended up going with the master plan. So I arrived, it was like a really like short slot where I arrived. They put the headset on me, they debriefed me before, they got me in a resting state. So they kind of made sure I was like totally chilled and relaxed before they recorded it. And then they put headphones, I put earphones on, and they played it and then tracked it, and basically have got all my data. And I've had a brief interview with them, not interview, like a Zoom chat with them since, where they've explained their initial findings of what's happened in my brain. But I'm waiting for the moment where we're going to talk again, because what they're going to do is like create almost like a presentation of what's going on in my brain throughout the song. And the bit that they said is of most interest to them is the bit just before the first chorus hits in, just before Noel starts singing Dance If You Wanna Dance, something happens to me physiologically, and my body state goes into total calm. Like my body doesn't move. My brain is moving a lot though. And all the different theta, beta, and gamma waves, I can't remember the names of them all. I have to remember them. Theta, beta, I can't remember the other two. Whereas they start out all separate, they converge into one line for about 30 seconds. And they're curious to understand what's going on there. And they said that those what they've ascertained is that I go into like meditative state, and they're curious to understand why. So that's what we're trying to figure out, and I love that because that's how it feels. Yeah, so that's as far as I've got with it so far, but they'll explain it all properly, and then we're going to repeat the experiment to see if it changes in other settings or if the same thing happens. So we'll do that in a few weeks' time as well. And then I'll do like a proper episode about it and what it all means, and they'll explain what it all means as well.
Wow. Very interesting. Why did you choose the master plan?
Because I boiled it down. I made like a short list. I was thinking between the master plan, Listen Up, Live Forever, Champagne Supernova, Rocking Chair. I think there was one other one as well. And whatever. And I thought I couldn't decide, and I thought Listen Up because I wanted to know what happens to my brain when Liam hits the chorus. But then I thought Master Plan just because it's kind of, I guess it summarizes everything with Oasis, whatever the feeling is. I think I wanted to pick a song that whatever they were going to scan and analyze was going to summarize that feeling that Oasis give people. I felt like that song and the timing of when the song came out and the lyrics and everything combined sums it up the most, and the meaning of the song. I thought if anything is going to signify it in an analysis, it would be that. So I went with that one in the end.
Really good. And that's really interesting that you said it's that bit before Dance If You Want to Dance, because that's like the Say It Loud and Sing It Proud Today.
Yeah.
You know, which is such a brilliant lead into a chorus, you know, like, you know, when you've had the verse, which is, you know, quite relaxed, and then Say It Loud and Sing It Proud Today, you know, it's such a brilliant lead in, isn't it? So it's fascinating to hear that was the moment where your brain turned on and the thing would have fallen off.
Maybe, yeah. Actually, I did wonder about whether, because I knew we were going to record this about Headshrinker, and then I thought maybe I should record it with Headshrinker in mind and have that scanned. But then I thought I wanted to do something that meant something more to me, so I just went with the song.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, look, we will check out that episode when it arrives, when you get round to editing it and putting it out.
It'll be a while, probably.
Be a little while. But yeah, so well, look, Katy, thank you very much for your time today. Great to catch up, and we will see you soon.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Hello, it's James in the future again here. One more thing I thought we'll do, just to finish off Headshrinker, because it's been a while and I've completely forgotten what we do on the A to Zs. But yeah, I did a Twitter poll on it. So let's see how the Twitter poll did, and let's see what your replies were. So I got you to score 5, 4, 3 or 2 out of 5. 5 got 46%, which was very impressive. 4, 33%, 3, 16%, and 2, 5%. In a Quasar 35 said it's good because it's fast and loud, but what's it about? More than a lot of other Oasis songs of this era, this is real thoughtless nonsense in the verse, completely unrelated to the much better chorus. I hope you don't regret today for the rest of your lives is a heck of a line. Yep, agree with that. Well, I agree with the end bit. I don't necessarily agree with the verse bit, because like I said in the episode, I think it is about something. Jack Hirschfield, as I said with Morning Glory, it is chaos. It's got such an upbeat punk feel to it, which doesn't appear too often in the Oasis discography. A very unique song. Khan might say, our friend Imran, some might say is their best single by far, and this closes it. We were so spoilt back then, can't believe they never did it live. They did do it live, Imran, as we've discussed. They did it 19 times. Sean McLaughlin, another phenomenal B-side, and live it's unbelievable. Jennifer, who is at Lost in Music 72. I really love hearing this one. Definitely a 5 on my list. Just pure rock and roll. It suits Liam's voice perfectly. Proper Mental Podcast says Liam's best ever vocal. Dee Dee said, who doesn't get excited when they hear the opening riff? Confident song indeed. I was that Headshrinker girl, lost and lonely, till I heard this tune. I've never regretted it a day in my life since I first heard this tune. Fucking 10. That's brilliant. Well done, Dee Dee. Dave Scholes, my top Oasis B-side that should have been an A-side or at least an album track. I love this song. The guitar solo is great. 10 out of 5. Susie in the Sky says, banger, love that pure rock tune. What a blast when Liam sang it at the Down by the River Thames live recently. NW United said, love that tune. Chris Hunter says, love it up there as my favourite B-side. Liam at his peak here. Jamie Smith, one of their very best. Gareth Edwards, up there among their greatest B-sides. Dan Best, I've always found this to be a bit meh. Skippable track on Masterplan. Faces Stay With Me at the start. Just not enough melody for me. Come on, Dan, cheer up, mate. You know it's good, really. Sean Davies says, my M62 Manchester to Leeds tune back in 95. Cranked up and foot down. Ali Stewart, love it, but only thing that stops it being a 5 for me, it sounds too close to a live concert recording. Would have liked a slightly cleaner studio production for added effect when playing it at home. I'm nitpicking though. Yeah, fair enough. I personally really like the fact it sounds really raw. But I get where you're coming from. It doesn't sound too dissimilar to Live by the Sea version. Mikey, a stormer, pure fuzzed up adrenaline, fiery vocals, violent guitars and drum bashing. Oasis at their scuzziest peak. Classic in it, 5 out of 5. The Moderner, honestly, these have mostly been 4 and 5s. Well done. Richard Bowes, filthy. One word review. Like it, Richard. Supernova Dragon, a definite 5 for me. One of the best B-sides they ever did, and I would never change a thing. Matt Fortet says, given the success of bands like Green Day in the US in the mid-90s, I wonder what sort of reception this would have met if released as a single in America. That's interesting. That's a good point. Would that have been a more successful choice than something like Champagne Supernova? I know they did release Morning Glory, didn't they, as a single over there, which they never did here. Sean Burns says, raw, pure rock and roll. Live by the Sea version is insanely good. Ian Doyle says, Oasis at their most pure and devastating. The version on Live by the Sea is untouchable. Trevor Duncanson says, speed, power, Liam sounding young, everything that makes a great early Oasis B-side. And Dan McSaund77 said, bring it on down part 2. Oasis at their punk best. Love it. So there we go. And where did it finish on our polls? So you guys, when I did the great ranking a year or so ago, you guys had it at 36 with the average score of 4.2. So if you think it's just behind Married with Children, Fucking in the Bushes, and I'm the Walrus, and it's just ahead of All Around the World, Little by Little, and The Importance of Being Idle. Very interesting. And then for me personally, I had it at 34. So actually very, very similar to where you guys scored it. All right, well, look, that will do it for today. Thank you very much for listening. Most of all, thanks go to our patrons. You guys really help out because it keeps the podcast ticking over. So I do really appreciate everyone that does support on Patreon, even if it's $1 or £1 a month. It is absolutely fantastic. And you can get bonus features over on Patreon. Bonus episodes as and when I stick them up over there and things. Big one as well is access to the Discord. So if you would like to be part of the Discord, do just please drop me a message. Sign up on Patreon and drop me a message and I'll give you a link to the Discord. But yes, that will do it for today. We'll be back very shortly with more exciting news in the world of Oasis. Will it be a reunion announcement? I don't think so. But let me just quickly check Twitter before I hang up. No reunion announcements as of tonight. So let's see what happens next week, shall we? All right.